It's a fantastic day today, and I'm glad you're here with me for another episode. In this episode, I am giving you my top 10 movies from the 70s. There are so many movies that I love from that decade. It was hard to do a list here, and this list, like all the other top 10 lists, it always changes and switches around because time passes by, you change, lots of stuff happens, you get to know new movies, new games and stuff. So yeah, this is my top 10, my current top 10 of the 70s movies. But before I start, I give you my honorable mentions. Again, there are so many movies that I had to have an honorable mention. So let's get this out of the way really quick here. We have Dirty Harry from 1971. I love Clint Eastwood, such a great action movie, so iconic. I love this movie. We have Enter the Dragon from 1973. Bruce Lee, still to this day, is one of my absolute favorite persons in the world. He's still influencing me. I love him so much. We have One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, 1975. So many awesome actors, such a great movie. I just love it. Jack Nicholson, Christopher Lloyd, for instance, is such an awesome movie. We have Monty Python and the Holy Grail. I love Monty Python, but this movie from 1975 is such an awesome movie. It's so hilarious. We have another movie here on the honorable mentions list, which almost made it to the top 10. It's The Exorcist from 1973. Such a great horror movie. I love the atmosphere in this movie. But it was a last minute decision. I put it in the honorable mentions, so it's not in the top 10. Then we have probably my favorite or second favorite superhero movie of all time. We have Superman from 1978. Richard Donner, Christopher Reeve, Gene Hackman. I love this movie, the atmosphere. When I was a kid, I loved this movie so much. And back then, I think I would have put this on place 1. We have another one here, 2 more on my honorable mentions list. I think lots of people won't like this now, but I put a movie from 1977 in my honorable mentions. It's Star Wars. Such an iconic movie, a game changer back then. It changed the whole cinema. Such an influential movie. So many people love it. It created a whole religion, and over generations now, people love Star Wars. I still like Star Wars. This movie, back when I was a kid, again, was so amazing. And yes, till this day, I love it. But there are so many movies that I prefer a little bit more, so it's in my honorable mentions, not in my top 10. And the last movie that's in my honorable mentions here is a movie from 1978. I love this director. It's John Carpenter. He's one of my favorite directors of all time. And his movie, Halloween. Such an influential movie. So many people love this movie. It's so iconic. The soundtrack is iconic. The costume. In my opinion, it's not John Carpenter's best movie from the 70s. There's one which is a bit better. We have this one in the top 10. But yeah, please don't be mad again. This is my top 10. Let me know which is your top 10 movies, or at least which are your favorite bunch of movies from the 70s. Let's go to our top 10. I have this list right here. On place number 10, we have a movie from 1976. It's Rocky. I love Sylvester Stallone. He's one of my favorite actors. And this movie, the whole history about this movie, how it was made, you have to read about that. That's so interesting. Sylvester Stallone wrote it on his own. It was a passion project. He wanted to direct it, he wanted to play it, but he had a problem to get to a studio to produce it. And so many people wanted to meddle with this, but in the end, he did his movie. It's a perfect movie. He got Oscar nominations, he won Oscars, and this movie is so great. Great soundtrack, so iconic. Love it. Still can watch it. I love the whole Rocky series, by the way. Maybe we should do a ranking of the whole series in the future. Now, on place number 9, we have my favorite Star Trek movie. And here, again, I feel like I'm in the minority. I know that lots of people don't like it that much, but I put it on place number 9. It's Star Trek, the motion picture from 1979. Lots of people say it's too long, it's too quiet, it's a bit boring, and I totally disagree. I love the atmosphere, the late 70s sci-fi atmosphere. I love the crew, how they interact. I love that it takes its time. I love the story about V'ger and Spock going into this thing, and so much mystery, so much sci-fi. I love, again, the special effects and the atmosphere. It's my favorite Star Trek movie to this day. And I really like this movie. So, on place number 8, we have a George A. Romero movie from 1978. By now you will know which it is. It's Dawn of the Dead. I love Dawn of the Dead. It's my favorite zombie movie from the 70s, my favorite horror movie from the 70s, and so many awesome special effects. Tom Savini was involved in here doing the effects, and it's so iconic. The music by Goblin, the Italian progressive band, is so awesome. I could talk about this movie for hours now, but let's go over to the next place. On place 7 we have a Spielberg movie. It's Close Encounters of the Third Kind from 1977, the same year Star Wars was released. And I really love this movie. It's so special. For lots of years, this movie was on my place number 1. I really love the atmosphere, the special effects. I love the theme and the topic. As you might know by now, I love the whole UFO and alien topic so much. This movie really handles it well. I love the actors in here. They're doing a great job. Especially Richard Dreyfuss. He's so cool in here. I love the soundtrack, the melody that we have here at the end. When I don't want to give away anything. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. It's a great sci-fi movie. On place number 6, we have now the John Carpenter movie that I was talking about. It's Assault on Precinct 13 from 1976. And this was one of the last Carpenter movies I watched. I watched them all since the early 90s, I would say. But I always skipped on this one. I never watched it. I knew about it, but I wasn't so interested. But a couple years ago, I watched it with my wife. And we had such a great evening. I still remember it vividly. And when this movie was over, we were just looking at each other and we were like, this is a masterpiece. It's such a great movie. I don't want to give away anything. Go watch it. Come back to this video and let me know what you think. There's something happening in this movie which is unpredictable. And it's so subtle that maybe everybody would sense it or maybe would get it. But I think I sensed something in this movie. There was like the subtext, and I really love that. The soundtrack is great. It's John Carpenter. I think it's John Carpenter's best 70s movie, and I really like it. Let's go over to place number 5. This is the movie also from Steven Spielberg, directed, and also has Richard Dreyfuss, Roy Scheider, and so many awesome actors in here. It's Jaws from 1975. Again, like Star Wars, this movie changed the whole cinema. This created the fear of sharks for years and decades to come after people were watching this. I love this movie. The atmosphere is so tight. It has some Hitchcock vibes, which is another director that I really love. Like all the other movies, I could talk for hours. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. And if you have watched it, you probably know it's a great movie. On place number 4, a movie also from 1979. It came out in the same year like Star Trek came out. It's Alien. Directed by Ridley Scott, has Sigourney Weaver in here. So many awesome actors. The atmosphere is so tight, claustrophobic. It's a horror science fiction movie. One of the best of all time in my opinion. And the best in the 70s. And it came out in the late 70s, so right before the 80s were around the corner. So this movie is amazing. I love it. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. And now we come to a movie that I know that my father loved. It's from 1974, and I watched it the first time a couple months ago with my wife. I haven't watched it before, so I just watched it once, and it already is on my top 10. I have it on DVD here. I'll watch it for many, many years to come. It's Young Frankenstein.
That's Frankenstein.
It's Young Frankenstein.
My name, it's pronounced Frankenstein.
It's Young Frankenstein. It's Young Frankenstein from 1974. And it has Gene Wilder in it. He's my favorite actor probably of all time. I love the humor. I was laughing out almost at each and every scene. It's directed by Mel Brooks, which is a comedic genius. He also did Spaceballs, by the way, or many, many other movies. And again, I had to laugh like almost at every scene. And I was holding my chest. I was sliding off the couch, falling on the floor. I was just like, I don't know, it was such a hilarious movie. I love the horror movies from the 30s and 40s. As you might know, we already did a top 10 Universal Monster movie episode here on our show. And this movie kind of makes fun of all these movies. It's a brilliant movie. Go watch it if you haven't. It's such a great comedy, and I really, really like it. On place number 2 is a movie from 1973, and it has so many actors. It's a star ensemble in here. We have Peter Sellers, just off the top of my head. We have David Niven. We have Peter Falk. We have, the list goes on. Alec Guinness. And I watched this since I was a little boy, and I really love the atmosphere. It's this whodunit, murder mystery comedy, and maybe it's not really up to date anymore, if you know what I mean, but it's so hilarious, it's so cool. Again, the star ensemble, the cast, the atmosphere. You have Truman Capote in here also playing a role, and it's such a great comedy with such a cool and tight atmosphere. Lots of laughs. I always watched it right before I went to sleep, at nighttime, on Halloweens, and when I was a little kid. It's such a great and special movie to me. And Murder by Death from 1976 is such a great movie. I love it. Now, on place number 1, we have a movie from 1971. It's Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. My daughter a couple years ago started reading Roald Dahl in school, and she was telling me about Roald Dahl. I knew the Tim Burton movie. Back then I watched it in theater when it came out. I think it was 2005. I watched it with my wife. And this movie I only know for a couple of years now. Again, it's Gene Wilder as the main actor here in this movie. He plays Willy Wonka. It's such a magical movie, such a great soundtrack. So iconic. I love this movie to death. It's so awesome. I went as Willy Wonka to Halloween. And the cool thing about this movie, this is why I put it on place 1. It's so special, even without me having nostalgic feelings. Again, the first time I watched it, maybe it was like 5 or 10 years ago, something like that. The first time I watched it, the second and third time, every time I noticed there's all these subtleties in the background, especially with the character of Willy Wonka, played by Gene Wilder. There's something going on there. It feels like he's on the verge of losing it and losing his faith or hope and giving up a little bit. And also it feels like he's like closing a chapter on himself and continuing, going to the next stage of his life, whatever. I haven't read the book. I have it here, the Roald Dahl book, and as well as the sequel. I can't wait to read both of them. But yeah, I love Gene Wilder in here. He has this kind of sense of grief and regret and a little bit of, not depressed, but something in that direction. But at the end, everything is a bit different. So I love this movie. It's really special. So this is my top. I mean, come on, guys. Give me a break. I put your movies into the honorable mentions list, so why are we fighting here? I mean, why? I know what you mean. It's just, I still love your movies, you know? And again, I put it in the honorable mention. I was really close with your movies. I really get your point. I know what you mean. I know what you're trying to say. It's just like, when I was a kid, I loved these movies. I would have put them on place 1 and 2 and Superman on place 3 or something like that. It was my 3 favorite movies of all time. Right. It's just, at some point you change, you know? You grow up and you get a bit older and yeah, maybe part of my inner child died. I wouldn't say it died, it just gets less and less, and there's so many stuff in life. You grow up and things change and stuff, so yeah. I still love Halloween and I still love Star Wars. 2 great movies, and again, back then I would have put them probably on place 1 and 2 or 2 and 3. I mean, Superman was awesome, wasn't it? Yeah, right. Christopher Reeve was awesome. So I'm really glad we could work this out. You know, I'm happy. Yeah, I'm really happy. Yeah, that's awesome. It's great. So. What that's supposed to mean? I mean, how was killing your sister becoming a serial killer turning out for you, huh? I mean, that was rude. Yeah, that's nice. I wonder why they'd switch from puppets to CGI with your kind. I mean, what's that supposed to mean? You know what? Is this still on? Yeah, I think so. Well, okay, guys. I think I changed my mind. I think I will go for Star Wars on place 1, and on place 2 I'll go for Halloween. No, wait. I think on place 1 I go for Halloween, and on place 2 I go for Star Wars. I love Star Wars. It's such a great movie, and I really hope they don't hear me. Oh my God, what was that? Did you hear that?